So we've talked about the top 10 greatest moments in New York sports history, and we've also talked about the Knicks championship run and the things that they went through. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 New York sports blunders. And I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I went through this thing and I could not find a lot that I remembered about. There's a few, obviously, everybody's going to know, but there were so many that I tried to remember and I couldn't really remember any of them. So my list is definitely going to be a lot different than yours. So how long did it take you to come up with these? Let me ask you that.
Not long. My problem was narrowing them down and then like putting them in order where I felt like what my number one was. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot. There's a lot. You probably forgot a lot of these, and you want to forget a lot of these, but there's a lot. There's a lot of them.
So I definitely forgot, but we talked a little bit before the show about he came up with a ton of honorable mentions. I couldn't come up with one. That's how tough I found this to be. So I'm going to let you start, and we're going to cover
at least 4 or 5. But I know that you said that you don't list that many.
Yeah, we're going to cut it down to your top 2 honorable mentions, and then we'll get into the actual list. So I'm going to let you start. Give me your first honorable mention.
So my first honorable mention is going to be 2009, Mets versus Yankees, June of 2009. And it was a Subway Series. And the Mets were winning 9-8. And, you know, like the Mets, I guess they were still relevant. They were coming off. Yeah, I won't go into too much, but they were still a relevant team. Yankees were still good. Actually, that 2009 was when the Yankees went to the World Series. So the Mets were winning the game 9-8. Bottom of the ninth, K-Rod on the mound. He's about to wrap it up. Throws a pitch to A-Rod. A-Rod hits this can of corn to the second baseman, Luis Castillo, who in turn proceeds to drop the pop-up. And that's it. Game over. Yanks score 2 runs. And all I remember was K-Rod with his glove on his head, looking like, what the hell just happened?
Popped up. Castillo. Dropped the ball. He dropped the ball. Here comes Teixeira. And the Yankees win.
I didn't even remember that. I'm not going to lie to you. Like I do. I remember vaguely. That's the thing. So like, it didn't even come to my mind when we're talking about sports blunders. So I don't have another honorable mention. So you tell me, what was your other one?
Oh, you're not going to like this one. This is one of my favorite moments. And I can't believe you didn't list this one, but November 27, 1994, Miami Dolphins versus the Jets. The Dolphins were losing 24-21. 22 seconds left on the clock. Marino's marching down the field. He's running to the line of scrimmage. He's got about 22 seconds left. He's like getting down to the line like he's going to spike the ball. Gets to the line. The Jets are there flat-footed. Marino then in turn just takes the ball, throws it to Mark Ingram in the end zone.
If they have to. We are seeing another spectacular effort by Marino, who fires. Touchdown!
Touchdown. Marino's running around the field like he just won the fucking Super Bowl. And the Jets, just in typical Jets fashion, go down to the Dolphins. Dolphins end up going, like, that propelled them, and they ended up winning the AFC East that year. But just an incredible defeat at the hands of Dan Marino.
The fake spike. So let me tell you, this is number 9 on the number 9 on my list. But let me set a scene for you, okay? The first half of that game, and I remember this game vividly. The Jets were playing incredible offensively. Yep. Boomer Esiason was the quarterback. Johnny Mitchell had a huge game in the first half, came out of nowhere that year. Incredible first half. I remember this because I'm at a bar with my family at some party, and I'm at the bar watching the game, but there's no sound whatsoever. And I remember, man, the Jets are killing these guys. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's great. Yeah. The second half comes, and it's just a downward spiral ending the game in that fashion. Of course, who was that against? Aaron Glenn, who is now one of my favorite players, of course, growing up. And now, of course, he is the Jets head coach. So I'm shocked that was an honorable mention for you. Like, to me, it was still number 9, but it was such a big part of lowly Jets history that I thought it would make the list.
Well, here's the thing. Here's why it didn't make my top 10 is because the game ultimately it was insignificant. Jets sucked.
No, hold on. No. The Jets going into that game, they were 6-4. So no, they were doing well that season. That they lost every game after that one. They went 6-10 that year. They lost every game since that spike.
Again, it wasn't pivotal. Again, yes, typical Jets fashion, they collapsed after that game.
In true Jets fashion, Pete Carroll was the head coach of the Jets during his one season, and they were playing well defensively. Offensively, they started to come alive with Boomer Esiason, Johnny Mitchell, like I said before, and all of a sudden, that game changed the course of history, because after that season, the Jets fired Pete Carroll. They hired Rich Kotite. Pete Carroll went to New England. It just sent the Jets down a miserable spiral, not just for that season, but hiring Rich Kotite, who then eventually got us Bill Parcells. So I guess something good came out of it a couple of years down the line. So that was your 2 honorable mentions. So you want me to start number 10, right?
Go right ahead.
So we're going to stick with the New York Jets, and it is the butt fumble, the infamous butt fumble by Mark Sanchez.
Years ago, we talked to Tom Moore, then at Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator. You got a busted play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's alive.
I have never seen this before in my life.
And it's only number 10 on my list because the Jets were terrible that year regardless. Like, if they were a good team like they were under Rich Ryan the previous couple of years, it would have been a lot worse. But because the team was so bad that year, it's got to be at number 10. Yes, it's a horrific moment. Summed up the season. But don't forget, under Rex Ryan, the Jets were a really good football team. 2 AFC championship appearances in a row. They couldn't get it done. But to me, yes, it's a bad New York sports moment because of what happened. But in the grand scheme of Jets fandom, it's really not that bad.
It actually was one of my honorable mentions just because it was hysterical. You just don't see. I mean, it was typical Jets fuck up. It was just terrible. But again, the game was insignificant. The season was insignificant. That's why I didn't make my top 10 because, and ultimately, it made no difference. Even if they were winning the game, whatever, that season meant nothing. It was just it was nothing for them. So
the worst part of it is what it happened against the Patriots, which made it even worse. Because the Patriots obviously were the dynasty of that era.
Same thing with the fake spike. It was against the Dolphins, AFC rival.
All right, before we get to let's hear your number 10 because we're not going to cover it in too much. But what was your number 10?
Number 10 was low on the list for me because it happened before we were alive. And it was not too many people will say it's it's a blunder because they ended up losing, but October 13th, 1960, Game 7 of the 1960 World Series. Yankees versus Pittsburgh Pirates. Game tied 9-9, bottom of the ninth. Second baseman Bill Mazeroski, who ends up making the Hall of Fame anyway, but gets up, bottom of the ninth, hits a home run off of Ralph Terry. Pittsburgh wins the World Series. Still to this day, the only game-winning home run to win a World Series.
My number 9 was the Marino spike. So we covered that already. What's your number 9 of the top 10 New York sports blunders?
This one is fairly recent. It's Game 5 of the 2024 World Series. Yankees Dodgers. The Yanks were down 3-1 in that series, but they had Garrett Cole on the mound. They could have won this game. They're up 5-0. They win this game. It could be a different series. You don't know. Fly ball off of Tommy Edmonds' bat. We all know what happens. He drops the fly ball, opens up the inning. They score 5 runs, tie the game. They go on to win 7-6. They win the World Series. And this stuff just doesn't happen to the Yankees, but it happened to the Yankees. And it was just one of those epic collapses. And, listen, I'm not a Yankee hater, but it was kind of funny.
You're a Yankee hater. Stop it now. Stop it. All right, so this one should get under your skin. We're going to go to number 8.
Oh boy!
So
all right, let's hear
number 8 is something I don't think it's going to make your list, but being a Mets fan, early in the 2000s, this one should make every Met fan's list because when I remember when this happened, me and you had a long conversation and back and forth about this, and it's the Carlos Beltran called strike 3 in 2006.
At the plate, Carlos Beltran. He is ready. So is Wainwright. The 0-2 delivery. Curve struck him out looking. The Cardinals are going to Michigan to take on the Tigers.
This did make my list.
It did. Okay, so let me tell you something.
We were on the phone.
I was saying, how do you not get a ball on the bat with 2 strikes? I understand that call strike 3 was a big breaking ball, but you got to swing.
If I remember correctly, We were on the phone. All right. So with this one, I mean, I'll tell you where was it on my list? Let me tell you where it was on my list first. And then actually, for me, this was number 2 on the list.
Oh,
Because
wow.
it was devastating.
It was egregious.
Devastating. It was devastating. And I'll tell you why. It was number 2 on my list. It was Game 7 NLCS. The game was tight. The Mets were heavily favored. Cardinals were not. They were like barely into the playoffs, right?
That was a great Mets team. Phenomenal Mets team.
You can't even. You can't. It was the greatest Mets team. I mean, it's up there with '86. That's how good they were. Okay, they trumped the 2000 team. This team was phenomenal.
Yeah, they had stars everywhere on that field.
Yes.
Yep,
pitching, fielding, everything was great. It's 1-1, and we were on the phone like throughout the whole game. Andy Chavez makes that catch, ends up throwing out the guy at first base, doubles him up. Mets get out of the inning. We go to the top of the 9th, and freaking Yadier Molina hits that 2-run home run. They go ahead 3-1. And you were on the phone with me, and you're like, that's it, I'm fucking done. And you hung up the phone. You're like, fuck this team. You were like, done. Bottom of the 9th comes. Mets load the bases. I get your ass on the phone. You're like, I'm fucking watching. You're going nuts. We're all going nuts because Beltran's up. You're like, yeah, Beltran's gonna come through, right?
So hold on. Before you go any further, let's not forget who Carlos Beltran was prior to coming to the Mets in Houston. He was Mr. Clutch in the playoffs. So I'm expecting
the modern day October.
I'm expecting something big here in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I expected him to come through minimal base hit, if not like a grand slam, because bases are loaded. You just feel electricity in the place. Shea's going nuts. Adam Wainwright throws that fucking ridiculous curveball, and I could still see it. He never took the goddamn bat off his shoulders. I'm like,
it doesn't matter. You have to protect the plate with 2 strikes. You have to swing at that ball. There's no question about it. And he just watched it come in. What did you think was going to happen? I'm still pissed off about that. I'm not a huge Met fan anymore because I just can't deal with shit like that and how baseball is played nowadays. I said to you the last podcast that the Cardinals have always been the Mets' nemesis. And it's just another reason for me to hate the Cardinals because they always stick it to the Mets somehow. So what's your number 8? That was mine.
All right, so 8. Let's see what I had as 8. I got to look for it because I got my ridiculous list here. Oh, this is one of your favorites, I believe. 1994, Game 5, Eastern Conference Finals, Indiana Pacers and the Knicks. Wow, this was a great game. I remember this one. This was the Knicks were trailing in the 4th quarter. Not the Knicks. No, I'm sorry. The Pacers were trailing in the 4th quarter. My bad. The Pacers were trailing in the 4th quarter. And the entire game, Spike Lee's jawing at Reggie Miller. Reggie goes off for fucking 25 points in that 4th quarter. He scores 39 for the game. Okay? And the infamous choke signal is born. It's the famous Reggie Miller choke game. Now, but it is number 8 on my list, and this is the reason why. The Knicks won Game 6 and Game 7, so it made no difference. But it is still infamous. It is still great. Reggie Miller's performance in that game was ridiculous. The Knicks should have had them beat. They didn't beat them.
To me, that's not a big blunder. It's not a big blunder considering they went on to win the series.
But they still went on to win the series. I was going to make it an honorable mention, but
it's definitely a moment, a New York sports moment, which will never be forgotten. But still, all right. So I'm going to go to number 7, and my list is filled with sports moments. They may not be in the actual sporting event, okay? But one of the biggest blunders New York has ever seen that I think people have forgot about is Plexico Burress shooting himself in the leg.
Oh wow!
And going to jail after that because you forget the New York Giants just came off a Super Bowl victory.
Former Super Bowl champion Plexico Burress was formally indicted on gun charges Monday in New York City.
Over the Patriots, and he caught that big touchdown for them to win a game. And then for him to go to a nightclub, bring a gun in New York without a carry license, get arrested. He went to prison and derailed his career. That to me is number 7. One of the biggest blunders that didn't occur on the court, on a field.
Who knows if they had him, like what could have happened, right? They still had a decent team.
Dude, he's a big time player, a big time part of that team. He was such a matchup nightmare because guys like 6'5" or 6'6", wherever, he was huge. So that was to me is my number 7. What's your number 7?
Another one of these gut-wrenching ones for a fellow Knicks fan there. Game 7, 1995 Eastern Conference semifinals. Knicks versus Pacers again. Knicks down 97-95.
This is the big one.
Yes. They inbound the ball at half court, right? And they have the play set up for Ewing. Ewing spins off the defender, has a clear path to the basket. You're thinking we're tying the game at minimum. He gets fouled. We get a chance to win it, right?
George cuts to the corner. The inbounds to Ewing. Down to 3. Down to 2. Ewing. Not over the hit. And it's all over.
Instead of freaking dunking the ball, my man finger rolls it. Okay, gets cute with the ball, hits the back of the rim. Pacers go on to win that game. They win the series and go on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
So let me tell you something. That is my number 1 sports blunder.
Wow,
really? you don't understand how much that haunted me.
That could have been your year.
For 40 years, that has bothered me until the Knicks were able to just win it. You don't understand how big that was. The Knicks came off 94, going to the finals. They played hard. John Starks went cold in Game 7. You all know the series. They come back the next year, still under Pat Riley. They're favored again to come out of the East. Jordan had just come back off of baseball, and he had lost to the Magic in that series that year as well. So Ewing's got to dunk that goddamn ball. He misses it, and I am just beside myself, gut-wrenching. To me, that's haunted me forever. Until now, until now. But it's still, it has been such a long time for me to get over that. Like 1995 to 2026, we're talking about 31 years.
They had a rough run in the late 90s.
So that was my number 1, man. And that's only your number 7, which is wild to me.
Oh, wait, it gets better. Yeah.
Oh, great. So let's go to number 6. Number 6, again, another New York Knicks moment. It's the one I touched on before. It's Reggie Miller scoring 8 points in 9 seconds, and the Knicks lose that game 1.
A game that's seen nearly 60 fouls called. Actually, that is short of the record for both teams in a playoff game. Miller for 3, and he got it. Reggie Miller with a clutch tray, and it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again.
I think they still won that series. It's either in 94 or in 95. That's the thing. I don't remember what year it was. That's why I asked you before. But I think the Knicks still went on to win that series.
I remember the game like it was yesterday. That was the most ridiculous thing I ever. He went off. That last 10 seconds of the game was crazy.
He hits a shot. Knicks go to inbound the ball underneath the basket, and they're pressing. And for some goddamn reason, Anthony Mason, God rest his soul, throws the ball to Reggie Miller, who then steps out behind the arc and nails a 3 to tie the game. It was just in true typical Knicks fashion, gut-wrenching. So to me, that's my number 6. And Reggie Miller, again, he's honestly, I think Michael Jordan to me is the number 1 guy I cannot stand, but he was the GOAT, so I get it.
Reggie Miller was
number 2.
Biggest nemesis of the New York Knicks.
If he's not 2, he's 1A. Let's put it that way.
But
so what's your number 6?
Got him, though. The Knicks beat him, though.
All right, so what's your number 6?
All right, my number 6, to steal a quote from the great Joe Beningo, "Oh, the pain." June 2nd, 1993. Game 5 Eastern Conference Finals. New York Knicks versus Chicago Bulls. Series tied 2-2. 20 seconds left on the clock. The Bulls lead 95-94. Final 5 seconds. Ewing dishes the ball to Charles Smith, who in turn puts up 4 squared up shots to the basket.
Plenty of time on the shot clock, down to 10. Ewing for Smith. Smith. Smith stopped again.
And continues to miss on each shot, causing them to lose that game and go down 3-2 in the series. And that game went on to be known as the Charles Smith Memorial.
I felt so bad for Charles Smith because you're right. We should have won the game, but at the same time, it was against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. But I felt so bad for the guy. Yeah, I never hated Charles Smith, but still.
Listen, you win that game, you never know, man. You go up 3-2 on the Bulls, you never fucking know. That game was like game 4 against the Spurs. They missed that, and the Spurs come back and they win, right? And they're tied 2-2. That's a different series.
Let me ask you a question. We've seen all the bad shit already that's been happening to the New York Knicks. Now that finally something good has happened, do we get like a couple of good things in a row? Do we get another championship? Do we start having things go our way? We had that OG tip-in. That's, to me, you know, I said before that'll be number 1 in the greatest New York sports moments of all time. But I'm hoping we get more great Knicks moments now.
I feel like they have to go back to back now because it's only going to get harder now. Giannis is now in Miami. Boston's going to be better.
Fuck Giannis. I feel like the curse has lifted. Man, you see all these bad things. You see all these bad things. Like the curse is lifted. It's lifted. It's gone.
And don't sleep on Brooklyn, man. Now we got Julius Randle.
Oh, stop it. I love Julius, but stop it.
The draft is tonight too, so we'll see.
All right, so let's get into number 5 now. We've covered one half of the list. Let's get into number 5. Again, my list is an epic blunder here, and it's not something that occurred on a field, on a court. Might be one of the biggest blunders. I'm putting it at number 5, but we're going to go back to the New York Jets. Only because I'm a huge Jets fan, and they've caused me so much misery over the years, just like the Knicks. But it's the New York Jets taking Kyle Brady over Warren Sapp in the NFL draft.
Oh, wow, it's a shock.
With the 9th pick in the first round, the New York Jets select tight end from Penn State, Kyle Brady.
Now, watching the NFL draft for me as a kid, ever since I started following football, is one of the greatest things that I do. Every year I sit down and I watch it. Always used to be at Radio City Music Hall in New York. I always wanted to go, never got the chance. But every year watching the New York Jets draft is like something out of a freaking movie, because there's epic blunders after epic blunders, surprises, trade ups, trade downs. And this is not the first draft pick that's going to be on my list. Okay, we'll get to the next one later. But Kyle Brady goes on to do nothing as a New York Jet, right? Came out of Penn State, supposed to be a good blocker, decent catching the football. But then you have Warren Sapp, who go on to become one of the best defensive tackles in the National Football League, a Hall of Famer. The best. He came up with a 3 technique because of Warren Sapp. Like, he defined that position. And imagine if Warren Sapp had been drafted by the New York Jets, what that team could have become. Because guess what? After the fact, Bill Parcells came in.
Well, I mean, look, if I knew this was going to be listing bad draft picks, we could do a whole pod on New Jersey Nets and / Brooklyn Nets draft picks, because, I mean, you think the Jets made bad picks? Dude, I mean, none of these teams made good picks, man. The Knicks, they're all a whole pod about the Knicks picks also, man. Like,
they're all still New York blunders. I mean, this is a big blunder. You're taking one player over a Hall of Fame player. It's a blunder.
I mean, come on, man. The list is long for that, man. The Nets took Sam Bowie against the Michael Jordan. Like, come on, man. Like,
I got it, but you don't see that pick get played over and over and over on SportsCenter. You don't see it all the time. Ever since they referenced the New York Jets, anytime they cover the draft, they always show that pick. It's just a horrible moment. And there's one more, like I said, I'll talk about.
Was he a terrible player?
Yeah. He didn't do anything. He never got a second contract with the New York Jets. Let's put it that way. So what is your number 5 moment?
All right. So my number 5 is an actual sports moment. September 30th, 2007. Mets Marlins. Last game of the season. It's final game of the season. Tom Glavine on the mound. Mets need to win to get in. He continues to implode in the first inning and let up fucking 7 runs in the first inning. 7 runs and 5 hits. And I'm there. Last game of the season, I'm there. Fucking losing my shit. Like, I couldn't believe they didn't have Pedro warming up in the fucking bullpen, just on standby, just in case somebody imploded. They didn't have anybody ready. It was the most ridiculous. And it's the fucking Marlins. They go on to lose 8-1. And that concluded one of the most epic collapses in MLB history.
But Tom Glavine is one of the worst Mets of all time. Like, you expected so much more out of Tom Glavine, and he was like Frank Viola. Remember Frank Viola? Same thing. Awesome before he on points,
Hold on.
phenomenal. Comes to the Mets, he was terrible.
No, his first year on the Mets, Viola was like a 20-game winner. The first season.
He won 20 games, but if you watch those games, he was always in trouble, never pitched well. It wasn't the same player.
Listen, Tom Glavine wasn't terrible for the Mets, but he wasn't the same guy he was in Atlanta. But on the flip side, when he was in Atlanta, I don't know if you remember this, but the umpires used to call the fucking strikes like a foot outside back in the day. And they weren't doing that. Once he got to the Mets, they weren't fucking calling that shit, which is like phenomenal. When he was on the Braves, they were calling it. They're not calling it when he's on the Mets.
It's every generation of Mets signing a big name pitcher. You ready? I'm gonna go with the first Frank Viola, Tom Glavine, Mike fucking Hampton. Same shit.
Mike Hampton.
Same shit. No, he came to the Mets. He wasn't dominant like he was, when he was was it Colorado wherever he was.
No, he went to Colorado. That's the thing. He was dominant and he was great in the playoffs in 2000, and then he bounced and went to Colorado. I mean, if you want, Pedro was hurt.
Pedro's the only guy.
Fucking Scherzer, Verlander. You name it. Dude.
But later, that's way later on.
Saberhagen.
Garbage.
Dude, remember
Garbage.
Dude,
Pedro Martinez was at the end of his career. He didn't have the get-go. But let me tell you something. Pedro Martinez is the greatest pitcher of all time.
Yeah.
I was
Seaver,
not just because the ERA. Go look at Pedro's ERA throughout his career. Even at the end of his fucking career, the guy is just the mentality.
Pedro, when he came to the Mets, that first year he was with the Mets, he was great. He just got hurt. He was great. He was great for the Mets. I don't think he was bad. It's just love Pedro. They don't have luck. They sign these guys, they just don't, like Johan comes out fucking awesome the first year, throws a no-hitter, he's done for the rest of his career. He's done.
I know that's another guy. They line him up. Mets go out and get a big name. The only guy the Mets went to go out and actually really perform was Al Leiter. But Al Leiter wasn't the big star name, but he was a really good pitcher.
Al Leiter was great, man. Al Leiter was awesome.
He was. I said he was the only guy, but he wasn't like a superstar like these other guys. But he was a really good pitcher.
He was a solid 2. He wasn't an ace. He was a solid 2.
He came to the Mets and became a superstar, in my opinion. That's how good he was. Let's get to number 4. The number 4, I'm sticking with the New York Mets, and it's again another off the field blunder. But this is a big one. It's still haunting to the Mets to this day, and now they celebrate this day.
Can I guess what it is? Can I guess?
Yeah, go for it. What do you think?
Is it the Bobby Ojeda with the fucking the hedge trimmer, or whatever the fuck it was?
No, we could. I didn't even think of that. It's the right name, but it's the wrong Bobby. It's the Bobby Bonilla contract. Blunder. The Will Ponce blundering the Bobby Bonilla contract, and now the Mets are still paying $1 million every year.
They should suit him up. They could use him right now.
You want to talk about another horrible signing, Bobby Bonilla? I remember his first game, he had two home runs. I'm like, oh my God, the Mets are going to be awesome. And then he's utter trash after that. And the Mets are still
hold on.
The Mets are still paying.
That was the first time they signed him. They're paying him on the second time they fucking signed him.
That's even worse.
Fucked up the first one. They signed him, and then they're gonna go back and sign him again and pay him for the rest of his life. What the fuck is wrong with this team, man?
Those are the Wilpons, but they were the worst owners in. I want to say in sports, right?
Oh my God!
I don't think there's anybody worse than. That's a podcast we could do. Is the top 10 worst owners in sports? We could do that one day.
Oh yeah.
What's number 4? What's your number 4?
All right, sticking with those good old New York Mets, because they're so we did 06, we did 07, that was number 5. 06 was my number 2, but number 4 is 08. Final game of the season, final game at Shea Stadium, and I was there once again to witness the Mets collapsing once again, needing to win on the last game of the season to force a play-in game for the playoffs. They lose again to the lowly fucking Marlins, 4-2 on the last game of the season to close out Shea Stadium in epic fashion. And then what even pissed me off even more is that the Phillies had to win so that the Mets were eliminated. Then the Phillies, of course, won. And it was worse because of the fucking Phillies. I hate the Phillies. I can't stand the Phillies. Phillies win. They get into the fucking World Series that year. Fucking Mets. Unbelievable.
By the way, so everybody out there listening, we both went to college in Philadelphia, so maybe you understand a little bit more why he hates the Phillies. All right, so we're getting into the top 3 now, believe it or not. So to me, this is one that I don't know if it made your list. We only have 3 spots to go, but this is another pivotal New York Knicks moment where I thought we were a really good team, going to go through the playoffs, getting ready to play the Bulls, and in 1997, P.J. Brown and Miami Heat. P.J. Brown throws Charlie Ward during a free throw towards the end of that game, and Patrick Ewing and Larry Johnson leave the bench.
Tim Hardaway at the line. Watch P.J. Brown and Charlie Ward. P.J. later on said he thought Ward was going for his knees, so why not throw him on the floor on top of photographers? Could you imagine if Eugene Amos was at the bottom of this pile? 1-800-LAWYERS, hello. Pat Riley, Jeff Van Gundy getting involved, making sure no one's going to get suspended for the next game.
And unfortunately, they got suspended. Patrick Ewing got suspended for Game 6. Larry Johnson got suspended for Game 7. And the Knicks go on to lose both of those games. It cost them the series, and this was the year the Bulls were 170 games, okay? One of the best teams in NBA history. But if you go back during the regular season, the Knicks and the Bulls played 4 times. The Knicks won 2, and the Bulls won 2. I said to this day that if the Knicks won that Miami series, they had a real good shot at beating the Bulls that year because they played real tough 4 close games. And fucking P.J. Brown throws Charlie Ward, and we all know what happens after that. But I will say this: Miami went on to win that series and get swept by the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. But that, to me, still to this day, really pisses me off.
Yeah, P.J. Brown was a dirty player. But that, you know what? It goes to show you, man. Over the years, the Knicks have just not been the friends of the officials of the NBA. I mean, like I'm not a Knicks fan, but there is some bias. There's definitely some bias.
And do you think it's because Ewing, the whole controversy about the envelope being cold and them getting Patrick Ewing? Do you think maybe that has anything to do with it? They said, let's fuck the Knicks for the next 20 to 30 years.
Really?
I'm just saying.
I mean, like,
I don't know.
How about fucking San Antonio getting fucking David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and then fucking Wemby?
Of course.
Are you kidding me, dude?
Exactly. Same. Well, the year before, Tim Duncan, David Robinson got hurt that year, so he was out basically the whole year, and they were horrible. And then they got the #1 pick, and they drafted Tim Duncan. Fine. I agree with you, though. I think a part of it plays into that. But what's your number 3?
All right. We're gonna go November 4, 2001. Post 9/11. We're in a post 9/11 world, right? Game 7 of the World Series, Diamondbacks versus the Yankees, right? You got the Yankees winning the game 2-1. We got bottom of the 9th in Arizona. Diamondbacks get a leadoff hit from Mark Grace, gets on base. They proceed to get the next guy on. And then I believe somebody bunted him over, and it was 2nd and 3rd. And Tony Womack comes up. And up to this point, Mariano Rivera was flawless in postseason history. Flawless. And it's Mariano, okay? He lets up a base hit to Tony freaking Womack. Diamondbacks tie that game, okay? Next guy up, I believe, gets hit by a pitch. They load the bases. Luis Gonzalez comes up. Now you got Tim McCarver, the legendary Tim McCarver, on the call. And the Yankees bring in the infield. And Tim McCarver goes, I don't know if that's the right decision, especially with Mariano on the mound. This is word for word what he says. He's the type of, the way he pitches, he busts guys in with that cutter. Especially, I think he said especially lefties. And he's like, they tend to hit these bloop singles off of him. Pitches to Luis Gonzalez. I think it was a 1-0 count. Luis Gonzalez saws off a pitch from Mariano, flares it just over the head of Derek Jeter. Winning run comes in.
2-2, bottom of the 9th. Game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded. Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
And the Diamondbacks win the World Series. Now, if the Yankees had won, that would have been 4 straight. You're talking about dynasties. That game, this is why I have it so high. Number 3, that game for me ended that Yankee dynasty run.
Let me ask you a question. Who's the blunder on? Joe Torre, or are you saying it's Mariano?
Oh, it's Mariano. Dude,
I don't know. I feel like it should be on Joe Torre.
Dude,
well, if you're going to move the infield in, or
you get the infield. Well, listen, it was only one out. There's only one out.
Yeah, but so if he jams in and they play the infield at regular depth and Jeter catches the ball, everybody stays, and now Mariano has a chance to face a batter with 2 out.
Or
you can get out any base.
Infield. Let's see. I mean, Luis Gonzalez, I think at that point is crystal fast runner, right? He hits a ground ball. There might be a chance he legs that out and they don't get the double play. So my point is you have to go infield in there.
I don't know, man. To me, I'm not going to blame Mariano Rivera for that one. I'll blame Joe Torre. I get what you're saying. The guy is, the greatest of all time when it comes to closers. He's probably top 10 pitchers of all time, I would say. That's debatable. All right. So this, again, number 2 is a big moment in New York Jets history that people don't talk about enough. But for me, this is 1983. And when we talk about a draft class that has multiple Hall of Famers at the quarterback position, it's, to me, this should be number 1 on any Jets fans list. There's no question in my mind, because you're skipping over a generational player and a generational talent at that time, and still today is the greatest passer in NFL history. It may not be the greatest quarterback, but the greatest thrower of the football to this day in NFL history. And this number 2 is the New York Jets drafting Ken O'Brien over Dan Marino.
Jets take the first round selection, quarterback, Ken O'Brien of California, Davis.
In 1983, like Dan Marino coming out of Pitt, everybody thought was the man. And he ends up going after, obviously, John Elway, Jim Kelly, and then Ken O'Brien. He goes after to the Dolphins. But if you go look at back coming into that draft, everybody knew John Elway was going to go number 1, but there was questions whether he was going to play baseball or not. And that's why, the Broncos traded with the Colts and got that pick. But Dan Marino coming in, I thought everybody for the most part thought Dan Marino was the best quarterback in that draft. And for the New York Jets to bypass him and take Ken O'Brien, it's a disgrace. I don't know how to, I don't want to kill Ken O'Brien. He had a solid career for the New York Jets, didn't have an offensive line, never really got a chance. Good thrower of the football. Don't get me wrong. He had some weapons on at the receiver position, but when you have Dan Marino out there, who's gone on to do so many things in the NFL, hold so many passing records at that point. I remember watching games where he'd be throwing for 400 and change against Drew Bledsoe, who was throwing for 400 and change, doing things that the quarterbacks are doing now in 2026 that he was doing back in the 1980s and early 90s. So it's an epic blunder. I had to put it at number 2. And only thing I put at number 1 was Ewing's finger roll because it caused me so much freaking misery. So that is my list. Dan Marino not coming to the New York Jets.
So let me comment on that. Marino coming out in 83. I mean, I've seen so many interviews on this, but he was the most polished passer to come out of college. This guy, he started halfway through the season in 83, and 84 takes him to the to the Super Bowl. But I didn't even think of being a blunder like that, because like we were talking about before, you can have a podcast on just draft pick blunders, because all these teams, be it the Knicks, the Nets, the Rangers.
The way I look at this, you talked about it before, how it changed the Yankees' fortunes to when Mariano gave up that hit.
Yeah.
That literally set the Jets back another 10 years. That's how I look at it. Like, it just, they made such a mistake that it sent the franchise back another 10 years. And then what did we go through after? Went through the fucking fake spike. We went through the butt fumble we covered. There's so many other bad moments because of that pick. Jets draft Dan Marino. God knows what happens. Maybe you get to the Jets to Super Bowl. We don't know. That's why I had to put it on the list.
Yeah. And the Jets didn't have like a bad team.
No, they had weapons on offense.
To his credit, Kenny O'Brien wasn't terrible. He was a good, he was a good passer.
No, but he's not Dan Marino. Stop it.
He's not Dan Marino. Yeah, he's not Dan Marino.
So we covered your number 2. So what is your number 1 moment? We said number 1 is Ewing's finger roll. So this is it. Your number 1. What is it?
I can't believe you forgot this. And as a Met fan 2004 ALCS collapse by the New York Yankees.
1918 season. Here it is. Ground ball to second. Reese. The Boston Red Sox have won the pennant.
They're up 3-0 on the Boston Red Sox. Okay. Commanding lead in the series. And they proceed to lose 4 straight games. It's never been done before. It's never going to happen again. They lost 4 straight games to the Boston Red Sox, and the Boston Red Sox went on and won a World Series for the first time in like God knows how long. It was like, what, 70 something years, whatever it was.
And they broke the curse.
Same. And it broke the curse of the Bambino. That to me is the ultimate collapse, the ultimate blunder. It's the ultimate faux pas for sports. Is how do you let this team that you've dominated for decades, you've kept them, like you've stepped on them constantly, and they finally come through. And it was like they were just defeated. And then just to watch all the Boston fans in New York celebrating was just like unbelievable. It was just like something you'll never see again.
For me, you know what it is? It's when you're not a fan of a team and something like that happens. I remember rooting for the Red Sox because I don't like the Yankees. I'm a Mets fan. So like, yeah. I usually don't root against the Yankees, but
I'll tell you what it was about the Yankees and those late 90s Yankees, early 2000 Yankees, right? It's not that you hated the Yankees. It's you hated the Yankee fan. They're just the bragging and the talking of the trash and, oh, your team, what'd you win? 1969, 1986. Oh, we got 27 rings. Like, dude, come on. I mean, the Mets might be bad, but they're not 2004 ALCS collapse bad. Okay. That
here's the
will
thing.
always be number one for me.
Because they have 27 World Series, because they have all that, they could, laugh about it now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, you know what? They let the cat out of the bag. They let that happen.
Went on to win a couple. Yeah.
That's why I say to you is like with the Knicks, especially the same kind of moment. The Knicks have always been down. They've always been down. Now all of a sudden they got one. So if you enjoyed listening to today's podcast, do me a favor, go give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, or even on YouTube. Make sure to give us a like. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys at the next episode.